Hello and welcome to L Unfiltered. I am L, obviously. And if you all heard our last episode, this is our second of season one. So we recently launched this channel, and it's more or less a sister channel to our podcast called TianquiztliCreations that started over a year ago, which you can find on all listening platforms at this point. We decided, when I say we, it's more or less I, but I always have guests in the show and I really do take their opinions very, very to heart because they have helped me shape the show. And now they're helping with this one. And so I decided to kind of separate the two because the topics that we talk about are very different depending on the channel. Just for this week, I'm releasing a new episode for Thankitli Creations, and we're talking about Paris and the haunted locations, or the more famous known haunted locations in the city. And today we're going to be talking about something totally different here. And so it just made more sense to separate the two and uniform those conversations. But nevertheless, we will continue to bring guests on either show and have some fun and discuss some really fun topics, of course. And of course, we will always welcome new ideas and suggestions moving forward. So, with that being said, let's get into today's episode. So, in today's episode, I did a little bit of research on a specific topic that I've had some curiosity about, and that is how we can use hypnosis to heal trauma. If you have followed either channel, there's definitely been a lot of conversations about past experiences in our childhood or early teenage years that our guests, as well as myself, have shared that we're still overcoming. And so the hypnosis topic has really been fresh on my mind for quite some time. Just never took the time to really research it or take the time to understand it. But this time I did because I want to share my findings with you all. And maybe, who knows, could help someone do their own research and decide whether this is something they can incorporate into their current treatment for mental health and their well being. So, one of the many things that I learned while researching this topic was how truly it's a tool. So, hypnosis can be a useful tool in the treatment of trauma. It is very important to understand that it's most likely going to be part of a comprehensive treatment plan that could include therapy and other interventions. But a few of the things that it can help with can be accessing repressed memories. So, hypnosis can sometimes help individuals access memories that are otherwise difficult to recall, which can be useful in processing and understanding traumatic experiences. And to this, I say, I have a few individuals that I have spoken to in regards to trauma who say they don't recall specific times of their childhood. It's almost as if they blocked it. And there is an ongoing TikTok trend that has taken the audio from one of the episodes of Stranger Things, and where the character 11, right, she had a lot of repressed memories because of the things that happened in her childhood. If y'all had watched the show, her entire childhood was very traumatic. And in the last season, there's an audio that has been used in TikTok, like I mentioned, where it states somewhere in the lines of, "You lied to me." And then the other character says, "No, I helped you." And that's in resignation with the other character repressing those memories so she wouldn't remember the type of pain that she caused. Um, I'm sure you all recall that. Now, along with that, I also have said individuals who have said that they're okay with not knowing. They're okay with not feeling certain emotions. And again, I don't think that's a flex. I don't think not feeling is a flex. I feel that at a certain point, after you realize for an extended period of time, you should feel. We are human. It makes us human to feel. It's not a flex to say, I don't feel anything. I don't want to feel anything. I think it's more or less there's much deeper um, trauma, much deeper reason, right, as to why individuals may say that. And as a reminder and disclosure, I am not, a licensed professional. These are all my personal opinions and also just research that took me definitely a few weeks to get through. Do not come for me. I'm not a I'm not a licensed professional. Take what you want or take nothing at all. So, other ways that hypnosis can help with trauma would be reducing anxiety and fear. So, hypnosis can help reduce feelings of anxiety and fear associated with trauma, allowing individuals to feel more relaxed and in control. Can also change negative beliefs, can help them change those negative beliefs or thought patterns have developed as a result of trauma, such as feelings of guilt or worthlessness. Can increase feelings of safety and security. So, it can make them feel that they have a greater sense of safety and security, which can be beneficial for those who've experienced trauma. Can promote emotional healing. So it can help process and release repressed emotions associated with trauma, just leading to a greater sense of emotional healing. And of course, last but not least, can improve coping mechanisms. So it can help individuals develop and strengthen coping mechanisms for dealing with trauma related symptoms, such as flashbacks or nightmares. Now, with a few of these, I can definitely say I myself can have been very open about my mental health journey over the last few years. And it really made me think, just like we do everything in life, honestly, you have to try a few things to know whether they're going to work or not. And for me personally, I think that it's important to know my mind, my body when I'm dealing with something. I may not say it, but I've come to realize that when I'm overly worked or just anxiety driven, whether I want to accept it or not, a few things that start happening to me is I start dreaming, like dreaming every day or every night, should I say, dreaming every night. And my dreams are just so real, right? They become so real. Just the other night, I had a bit of a nightmare. And if you all know, I don't have children, but I have four fur babies. Those are my kids. And my youngest, and I say youngest, but he really isn't, he's 7. So my youngest, Chester, which I have a book on him. I don't know if y'all know that. Probably do. I talk about it a lot. I wrote a book about him and Biggie, but Chester being, my last baby, right? He's spoiled. I spoil him a lot. I mean, they're all spoiled, but him especially gets to kind of do whatever he wants when he wants, kind of deal. Gets extra treats. Sometimes gets to be in the bed, kind of deal. But a few days ago, I actually had a really terrible nightmare where he jumped off a second floor building, and in my dream, as I saw it happening, I knew I was dreaming, and I had been dealing with quite a lot of changes in my life recently. And so I think that was kind of the start of me realizing that even though I thought I had it all handled, I just wasn't handling it the best way that I could for myself. So it was a very, very scary dream, and it really opened my eyes to a few things. However, in my dream, right, again, I knew that I was dreaming, but I still ran down these seem like hundreds of stairs to go pick him up from where he fell from. And in my dream, like he was just like in pieces, like he fell off a second floor, and I can still see it. Like, I hate when that happens. I can still see it in my dream. And I was like torn, and I was like, crazy screaming, trying to look for a vet. And even then, I still knew that I was dreaming. So when I woke up, I obviously was like heart beating, everything, looked over, he's still in his bed snoring, he's fine. Um, but it left me with that like feeling of like sadness and just being distraught, you know? And of course, my dreams since then have only kind of been very similar, like just running into people that I'm no longer associated with, or situations that I'm no longer in, but just kind of a reminder like something is pending, something I'm not dealing with, right? And all this stuff, as a way to deal, I journal. I started journaling a little bit more, and it's been helping. So that's what I mean when I say um, hypnosis may not be for everyone, but it is something that can be considered, especially if you're going through a mental health journey, a well-being. So that's a little insight on the last week or two for me. um, so more into my research, I did, learn this is something that individuals do now. Again, they incorporate it to what they're already using, right? A lot of the tools, and this goes as far as people who have been victims of abuse, national disasters, depression, PTSD, which unfortunately a lot of our military members suffer from. Some go unnoticed, some actually get the help they need. And so hypnosis is not something new, maybe just not talked about because, some people think it's kooky and like, oh, like that's Hollywood stuff, doesn't work, right? But a lot of experts could disagree. Again, it's a matter of trial and error. What's going to work for you, right? So, on a therapeutic approach, the hypnosis has been helpful to many individuals and has helped them recover from trauma. Um, Contrary to popular belief, hypnosis is not about losing control or being manipulated. Instead, it is a state of focused attention and heightened suggestibility that can be used to facilitate healing and transformation. So I remember the first time I ever really maybe had an idea of how this worked was a movie. It was a horror movie actually with Kevin Bacon. I'm sure you all have watched it, called Stir of Echoes. So in the movie, I think it's his sister who actually hypnotizes Kevin Bacon's character. And she does this so that he can be more open and see things, right? Because she's like this maybe like tarot card reader, like she's just into all like that spiritual stuff, but he isn't. He doesn't believe in it. But in doing so, when she hypnotized him, she actually opened up like a portal for him to see everything, meaning like spirits, right? And they end up like finding out of like this girl who was murdered because he starts seeing her, starts seeing things. And so that was kind of my first experience with hypnosis. And I was probably, I don't know, like 10, 12, and I don't think any older than that. So obviously I was very much like, whoa, I didn't know you can hypnotize people into seeing spirits, and it was kind of creepy then. But that's not the case. That's more or less like Hollywood, inspired. Um, so I do think that it is helpful, especially to process memories that may be difficult for us to recall or talk about. Um, this type of therapy can be really beneficial, right, to individuals that just have a hard time talking about things. By accessing the memories in a safe, controlled environment and not being pushed to talk about it, because I am guilty of that myself, right? Um, I would say, as of recently, and and I said a few years, but as of recently, I've learned to do better, right? Because some things are easier about to talk about than others, but not for everyone. Sometimes those things just don't roll out of your mouth. You don't want to talk about it, even if you've known someone for a long time, you feel comfortable with them, just don't want to go back to that moment of your life. So by practicing something like hypnosis, you're able to access these memories in a safe and controlled environment, and individuals can begin to make sense of their experiences and work through unresolved emotions, right? And it can also reframe the traumatic experiences and change negative beliefs or thought patterns that may have developed as a result of the trauma. So for example, let's say someone who survived a car accident may develop a fear of driving. So through hypnosis, they can learn to associate driving with feelings of safety and confidence rather than fear and anxiety. And I use this example because many of y'all may not know, but I haven't driven for very long. I recently started driving out of necessity, truly. And I hate it. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't understand. And I don't think it's necessarily that I'm worried about me being behind the wheel is I'm worried about everyone else around me. And it creates this intense anxiety and fear. And so I normally just drive but a few blocks from where I live and come back. Everything else is delivered. But I'm in Texas and walking is really out of the question here. Nothing's that close that you can walk to. It's not like the city that I'm kind of, well, was used to, having lived there in like over a decade. But you could walk to the corner store, you could walk to a restaurant. That's not the case here. You drive out of necessity. But it's pretty interesting to think that maybe I can be hypnotized so that I don't associate those feelings with driving. Instead, I feel safe and confident, and I am perfectly capable of going all the way to another city in my car. So, again, the idea behind such a therapeutic tool is to change the mindset of the individual and empower them, become this supportive kind of empowering tool that they can use to get through certain traumas that they've experienced in their lives. Of course, you want to make sure that if this is something that you think could work for you, you seek the right guidance and the right therapist that will support and guide you through the process. Make sure that you feel safe and comfortable, and remember that it's not always suitable for everyone. Individuals with certain mental health conditions, such as dissociative disorders or schizophrenia, um, may not be good candidates for hypnosis. And you always just want to make sure that it's something that you talk about with a qualified therapist. I know that there are plenty of people on social media that would say they can assist, they can help with things like this. Always make sure that they're licensed, that they have a good track record of things like this, because the mind is a very powerful thing. And feel like if you reach a point of breaking it, it's hard to get back those fragments together. So you always want to make sure that when you're dealing with things this serious, that you do have a qualified professional assisting you. To touch back on the dissociative disorders or schizophrenia, I don't know if you all have run into these videos on social media. I think it's mostly TikTok, maybe some on Instagram, where people actually create videos so that you can understand what an individual who deals with these mental health conditions sees on the daily. And they're very nerve wracking. They are. Some of these individuals themselves suffer from these mental health conditions, and they have, again, like tools to help them, right? So they will tell you what they do to bring themselves back to knowing that certain things they're seeing are not real. So one specific video I saw, and I can't remember the creator of it, but he has a dog, right? He has a fur baby that works with him, who is trained to help him know when something he's seeing is real and when it's not. So in this specific video that he recorded, or the snip of a video he recorded, he thought he was seeing someone in his home. He didn't know whether that person was real or not, and I guess he was talking to him. And so his dog actually would tell him. So the way that he would communicate to him if this was a real person or not was he would bark. Like he would bark like, hey, somebody's here. And so the owner looked at the dog and gave him his command so that he can help him, figure out whether this was somebody real or someone in his head. And it was unfortunately someone in his head. The dog never reacted. And to me, it's just like these experiences that you can see now through social media are just so educative, right? Because you can learn so much about mental health conditions without truly having to experience them yourself. And that's really a good way to understand and know that most of these people are completely normal, except for the fact that there's just some type of defragmentation going on when it comes to how they deal with their mentality. Other than that, they're completely capable of living a normal life, getting the help that they need, granted. And so, with that, I want to say that again, make sure that if this is something that may sound beneficial to you, get the right resources, do an extensive amount of research before you dwell into any type of assistance like this. And know that it's a very, healing from trauma, it's very complex and a very individualized process. Hypnosis is just a tool that can be used to facilitate that healing, but also important for individuals to explore their options, and find approaches that work best for them, whether that's therapy, hypnosis, combination of different other options, they may find. I can go on about all other tools, and I'm sure we will in the future, because again, this is a journey that I am currently going through myself and love sharing my findings. I definitely will be bringing in more guests to talk about their experiences as well. But until then, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, that you found it enlightening, informative, and that you join us for our next one here shortly in the next few weeks. As always, thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your day.